Welcome to the RC Aerobatics podcast. We welcome back Charlie Barrera to discuss the FAI questionnaire that was released, the KFactor and its evolution, the NSRCA proposed new logo, the NSRCA Hall of Fame, the new website, and 2022 NATS. Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Well, Charlie, welcome back to the show.
Thanks.
Look, I just kind of thought that since the FAI questionnaire survey hit the forums and we had some other subjects that we didn't get to cover last show, that it might be a good time to have you back on and just kind of go over some of the things that are going on with the NSRCA.
Okay, very good.
Well, good. With the FAI questionnaire hitting the forum, what is the board's involvement with that, and what's going on with that?
Well, the last meeting, and I'm going to talk in general topics, I guess. The last meeting, we talked about the idea of substituting, and I'm talking about the last board of directors meeting with the NSRCA. We talked about the last, about substituting the FAIP for the masters. And so that is an ongoing discussion that we're having with the board members. Since then, I have done an analysis of the P versus our current masters, and I'm talking about the P23 and our current masters. And the total K, what I did is the maneuvers that were FAI, I converted them to the K value that the NSRCA uses. There's a catalog of maneuvers that specifies a K value for each specific maneuver. And I converted it, the FAI total K, to what it would be in AMA Masters K. And it falls short. It's short by at least 12 K numbers. That's fine. What it demonstrates is that it's actually an easier pattern than the masters that we're flying now. If that's what our members want, then we would do that. We have addressed using FAI in previous years, and we feel that we want to maintain control over the maneuvers that we pick and do for our sequences. And if we were just to take a blanket FAI pattern and make it ours, then there'd be no control over the K, the total K value that's assigned to that particular sequence.
I see.
There's a document that was created several years ago, and I mentioned it on the last podcast. There are certain specifics that need to be met. I mentioned about the building block process, where you start at sportsman, you work your way to intermediate, and then on to advanced, and then masters. And each maneuver builds on the skill level and experience that you've gotten with the previous class. If we were to just plug in the P, then it doesn't really address that building block concept. So that's one issue that we need to discuss and we need to resolve. Also, the P K values can and might possibly be less than the K values on the class that we're flying, and so that needs to be addressed also. Right now, we're in discussions with the board to decide whether or not this is going to be a viable option for us. And then we would certainly maintain the prerogative to change the maneuvers according to the K value that's required. Now, change doesn't necessarily mean that we would eliminate or we would enhance. What we would do is just refashion a maneuver with maybe another element that would bring the K value to an appropriate amount. So
Okay.
that's what's going on now. So now, with respect to the FAI survey, that survey was passed to us by Peter Ulig, and Peter, let me give you his correct title. He is the chairman. I thought I had it here. He is the chairman of the Precision Aerobatics for FAI worldwide.
Mm-hmm.
And he's the one that actually generated this survey. And the survey asks some pretty good questions, and it's for pilots and for judges alike.
Mm-hmm.
The question that got my attention is that should we allow or sanction smaller models? As you know, with regard to the NSRCA, we know that flying a 2-meter airplane is expensive. If you
Mm-hmm.
want to be competitive, you've got to spend some money and get some of the latest equipment.
Right.
And so with the FAI putting out the survey, it kind of refocuses on, in a different way, it kind of refocuses on expense involved with the airplane itself. Plus, okay, so with the recent FAA restrictions that have been placed on modelers, we're restricted to a 400-foot altitude. However, the FAA has allowed us at certain designated fields to declare a FRIA. And what a FRIA does, it allows us altitudes that are beyond 400 feet. The FAI survey addresses altitude, and the FAI survey asks, should we limit altitude to a certain amount? And it's a very good question, because I'm sure they're having the same issues in the European theater and the Asian theater as we are here in the United States. There are many model airplane fields that are within an airport traffic area, and they have flown without any problems because we are aware of airport traffic that is in the area, and we obey the rules.
Right.
So you can see that that's one of the issues that this survey is going to address. There's other issues that the survey addresses, and one of them is the size of the model. They are asking if we should limit size to a certain amount. They're also asking if we should allow heavier models and also allow more horsepower or more power on the models, because right now we are restricted. FAI is restricted to a 5S battery, which is basically 43 volts. AMA has changed that restriction to a 6S battery, which is a maximum of 51 volts. So you can see that there's very many open items that are being discussed. We don't know if any change will occur. We do know that if the FAI decides to change this, that we will certainly have to reevaluate what we do here in the United States.
Right. Right. That would make sense. And I'm sure it's all done in the spirit of trying to promote the sport, to get more people into the sport.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I would imagine the effort, that type of effort kind of aligns with what the NSRCA is trying to do as well.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, terrific. Is there anything that's not addressed in there that the NSRCA is doing specifically to help to grow the sport?
Well, about a year and a half ago, a proposal was made for smaller models and to have separate class of flying that would be flown along with the regular 4 classes that we fly now. And this class of models would be a smaller model. The proposal was 1.7 meters, basically about a 60 size power plant. So that would be about 1,400 watts for electrics. It didn't get any traction. And I think the deterrent is that there's a lot of used 2-meter models that can be purchased for fairly inexpensive prices. So you could get into a full 2-meter airplane not having to spend the amount of money that you think you might have to.
Gotcha. Well, very good. Yeah, I think those discussions are certainly healthy, and you never know down the road that those ideas of people may change, and you may look at it again. Another thing that I've kind of noticed is, and I really like reading every month, is the KFactor. How long has that been around, and how do you guys get the content that you put into the KFactor?
Well, KFactor's been published for many, many years. I couldn't give you an exact date, but as long as I've been a member of the NSRCA, which has been almost 25 years, there has been a KFactor. The KFactor is basically a monthly newsletter, magazine that is published. The primary objective of the KFactor is to keep members informed. Prior to the digital age, that was the best way to inform our members of happenings around the country, of contests that were being conducted, the finishing positions of different competitors, and that sort of thing. And also, there were a lot of good building articles. There was also reference to different manufacturers for say, engine parts, model airplane kits, that sort of thing. But with the advent of the digital age, that content has changed in that now it's mostly just reports by the district vice president. And every district vice president, there's 8 districts, which represent the entire U.S., plus there's a Canadian district. Every district vice president writes an article every month. The executive officers, which is the president, vice president, the treasurer, and the secretary, all write their own individual articles as well. Generally, the articles are of general interest. On some occasion, each one of these individuals may be building an airplane, and they may include some of the build techniques that they use, which includes the pictures. With regards to the actual the publishing of it, we've gone totally digital. The KFactor before digital was published paper copy and also digital. The expense was very great, and so we reevaluated the expense, and we knew that a majority of our members were computer smart, and that they would download the KFactor. So we elected to go totally digital. It saved us the cost of the KFactor to publish paper was near a third of our operating budget. So you can see how it saved us a huge amount of expense, which helped us tremendously in planning events.
Right, absolutely.
Back in 2019, it was suggested and approved that we offer a free KFactor to non-members. So we tried that. The board actually approved that. And the first 2-3 months, the first month we had over 800 downloads of the digital KFactor, which was great. The intent was to give us more visibility, to get us out to the general modeling community. This in turn would correlate to advertisers in the KFactor. More people were seeing their advertisements and hopefully generate more business for those guys. Within 6 months, the KFactor downloads dropped to what they were initially, which is just basically about the member numbers, which is about 300 to 400 downloads a month. So it was obvious that it didn't have the intended effect, and the board noted this. And after about a year and a little more than a year, we reevaluated it, and we decided not to offer a free KFactor anymore. We got a lot of feedback from many longtime members, and the unfortunate thing is that one of the few things that the NSRCA offers is the KFactor to membership, to those that are members. And we took that away, and it turned out to not, we ended up not having the intended effect. We would hope that it would have increased membership and, of course, increased advertisers' business, but it did not have that intended effect. So we basically stopped that practice.
Yeah, that certainly makes sense. It is a nice member perk for sure. So,
it is.
Kind of along with that, you guys have your marketing. I understand that there's a new proposed logo that you guys are thinking about.
There is. It's been brought to the board's attention that the logo that we have now is nice, but that it probably needs an update. So we have actually at the last board meeting, we had a logo that is pretty much accepted by all the board members, and we'll obviously ask the membership what they think of it. If you can imagine an oval with a pattern airplane that is in roll, and you're seeing the wings in silhouette, and it follows an arrestee pattern, and then of course on the outside it says National Society of Radio Controlled Aerobatics on the periphery of the oval, and it's a red, white, and blue. It's red and blue on a white background. It looks very nice.
Oh, very good. I look forward to seeing it. Any idea when that'll be presented to the members?
Well, we're hoping that this next board meeting we can agree on the design, and then we'll publish it.
Oh, terrific!
But we'll see what the feedback is on that particular design.
Oh, very good. I look forward to seeing it for sure. Another thing that you mentioned in our last talk was the establishment of the NSRCA Hall of Fame. Can you talk a little bit about that and what that's about?
Yes. So about 3, 4, 5 months ago, the board considered the establishment of the NSRCA Hall of Fame. We feel that there are many members and previous members, some deceased, that were instrumental in making us what we are today. And we would like to call attention to that and those accomplishments and achievements. There's many guys that I can think of that deserve recognition because of their contributions to precision aerobatics. And it goes way back to the mid-70s. I incorrectly mentioned that Joe Britti was our first NSRCA president. It was actually Rhett Miller. And if you look on our website, you can look at the link for history, and you can see that Rhett Miller was basically a one-man board, and he did that for a couple of years, and then Joe Britti became the president, and that's when all of the officers' positions were created. And so both of those guys deserve equal attention.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that history is kind of neat to see how it all started. You know, it's kind of a machine that keeps going every year, is what we see today, but it didn't start that way, and those guys had to generate interest from nothing, which was incredible.
I know,
For sure.
and I've been flying models since radio control models since the 70s, and I can remember going to my local flying field and seeing some of these precision aerobatic models. And back then, it was the 60 size airplanes, and they were just they were fixed gear at first, and then you could see where it was a tricycle retractable landing gear, and it
Mm-hmm.
was just impressive and fascinating to see what they were doing with these airplanes. They flew them very well.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. So, how does the board decide who to choose each year for the Hall of Fame, or do they even do it each year? How often do they do it?
Well, actually, it'll be done once a year. Uh, Members of the NSRCA will nominate a person whom they think is deserving to be inducted into the NSRCA Hall of Fame. These names, along with biographies and pictures, will be given to the respective district vice president, and then they'll be gathered by the end of March, and then beginning in April, the board of directors will actually evaluate each individual and vote them in to the Hall of Fame.
Okay, terrific. Well, very good. So, if there's somebody out there that may not be as well known, there's sure to be a member out there who can nominate them and get their information to you guys.
That's the intent. And then we'd like to present some kind of a recognition at um, one of our national events, specifically the
Mm-hmm.
nationals, the Nats. And
Right.
we would present either a certificate or a trophy or just something uh, that designates them as a member, as an inductee of the NSRCA Hall of Fame, and present it to, if the inductee is deceased, it would be presented to the heirs. If he is living,
Mm-hmm.
then he would accept it himself personally.
Oh, well, terrific. Terrific. And you mentioned that there was a process to nominate it on the website, and I remember you talked about redesigning that website. Is that something that's going on now? Or are you talking about it, or what's going on with the revamp on the website?
Yeah, so if you look at our current website, the NSRCA Hall of Fame, there's an icon that you can click, and
Mm-hmm.
that opens up the rules of nominating someone and also an application. That is uh, it's being amended right now because it doesn't seem to be working quite as well as we'd like it. But I believe that's going to be done within the next few days. The
Okay.
website itself, uh, and I'm talking about our current website. We've
Mm-hmm.
gotten feedback about our current website that it is very hard to navigate. It's hard to find things that you actually want.
Mm-hmm.
So our webmasters uh, have volunteered to revamp the website, and they've presented the board of directors with a couple of options. They're in the process of refining those options, and you'll
Mm-hmm.
find once that is decided upon which one we want to use, then the website will be down for just a very short period of time, hopefully no
Mm-hmm.
more than 24 hours, and it will come back as a new website. It will be completely revamped. You won't recognize it uh, from the old one because it will have a whole new, fresh look. Plus, the one of the complaints was navigation of the website, and so the navigation bar will be changed, and it will open up different links, make it easier to find the information that you're looking for.
Oh, terrific. Yeah, I guess we all have to revamp those sites every now and then. As painful as that process can be, it's nice to know that there's some guys who stepped up to take care of that, because I know that's not a fun process. I've been through that a couple times myself.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. You mentioned that that you guys would give this at the Nats. So I assume the planning for this year's Nats is well underway. So what's going on with the 2022 Nats?
John DeRinger is our event director, and he is starting to coordinate all of the activities that go on at the Nats. It's a huge job for John. He did the 2021 Nats, and he did an outstanding job. So he has that experience that he builds on. And also he got feedback from last year's Nats as to some of the hits and some of the misses. And he's going to take that and improve on this year's Nats. Hopefully, he's in the preliminary stages of the planning, but it's going to be as good, if not better, as last year's Nats.
Oh, terrific! I'm looking forward to it because last year's Nats was a great time for sure. He did a really good job keeping things moving and having some fun activities with some of the older members that came back.
If I can just comment on last year's Nats, a hit from last year's Nats was the flight demonstration by some of Mark Radcliffe, Chip Hyde. They flew models that had been flown in the 70s, and they put on some fantastic flight demos. Chip Hyde came by at about 100 miles an hour, and he did a 16-point roll at 5-foot altitude. It was very impressive. That was a hit.
Yes, sir. luckily not a physical hit, but definitely a hit with the group.
It was a hit with the members, yeah.
Yeah, the style difference is so incredibly different.
Back then they called it ballistic pattern because the only way you could do maneuvers is if you had about 100 miles an hour on the airplane to do the vertical.
Holy cow. Well, that'll be great. I'm certainly looking forward to planning my Nats trip again. I know we just got an email out that March 1st they're going to start taking campsite reservations, so I'll have myself in line to make sure I have my site all taken care of so we can spend some time together. It's a great time for sure.
It really is. And I've been going to the Nats since 1998, and I've made some lifelong friends. I only see them once a year. But, they are great friends. We share a lot of information, a lot of build techniques, a lot of flight techniques. We'll fly in front of one another, and we'll give ourselves, coaching on how we're flying and what we're doing right and what we're not doing so right. So it's quite an experience. I really enjoy the Nats year after year.
Yeah, absolutely. And at the Pattern Nats, I got to know some great free flight guys, and at the IMAC Nats, I got to meet some great pylon racer guys. So that was always fun. Always fun. Well, very good. I really appreciate you coming back on with me again. I think these topics were timely, and it's good to kind of follow up with that. I appreciate your time and all your efforts in the Pattern and NSRCA. And if anything ever comes up, let me know, and we'll be happy to talk about them.
You bet.
All right. Well, you take care, Charlie. Good night.
Okay. Thanks, Rich.
Thanks for listening to the episode. Don't forget to like and subscribe. A very special thanks to my good friend John Gros, who wrote the song Deep in the Mud that is used as the show bumper music. Check him out on his website, www.johnpapagros.com. A link is in the show notes. See you at the next episode.